Alrighty, everybody. It is currently Friday, March 13th, 2026, and I'm coming at you live from the physical state between sickness and health. That's where I'm at right now. I'm between sickness and health. I don't have a fever, no headache or nothing, but I got some wet ass coughs going on. Incredibly wet. I mean, just like spewing out of my mouth from the depths of my lungs. I don't know. Maybe I have pneumonia or something. I wouldn't mind a little bit of pneumonia. You know what I mean? Take it easy for a while. Have an excuse to be even lazier than I already am. But I don't, yeah, I don't know what it is. I'm between sickness and health right now. Like physically, I feel fine. And then I'll just let up like a tuberculosis type of cough. You know what I mean? Like the type of cough somebody has in like a movie or a video game or a TV show or something. The type of cough someone would have in a piece of media right before they end up like dying. That's what I have right now in terms of my cough. You know what I mean? Like a farmer coming in from the radish fields or something, and he's just coughing, and his wife looks at him, and the kid goes, "Is it, what's going on with Daddy? Is Daddy gonna be okay?" And the mom goes, "Yeah, everything's gonna be all right." And she starts like, you know what I mean, like stroking the kid's hair, patting its head or whatever, and like a single tear rolls down her cheek while she's watching her husband cough. That's kind of the cough that I have going on right now. Like I'm I'm gonna push through it. I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna pick those radishes, but my death could be imminent. I don't know because it's just a cough. That's it. Like I said, there's nothing else going on. No fever, no aches and pains. My balls feel fine. I don't know if I talked about that in the last episode, but whenever I get sick, my balls just start aching. They're tender. They're tender balls. You know what I mean? That's what my balls start feeling like. My balls start feeling like veal or something like that. Um, but yeah, I'm just between sickness and health, so I might cough. I'm definitely gonna cough over the course of this episode. Um, and you're just gonna have to deal with it. And the last one, I tried to keep it away from the mic. I'm gonna go into the mic for this one, just so you can hear how wet and like viscous these coughs are. These coughs are have to be described using like chemical terms almost. That's how vicious they are. That's how just wet they are. you have you have to see you have to use like hydrological terms to describe these coughs. These it can't be described using anything anatomical in nature, purely hydrological. Like the types of words you would use to describe like the flow of a stream after a long period of rain. That's what you would have to use to describe my coughs right now, or like maybe a geyser or some other sort of geothermal, hydrothermal phenomena, surface phenomena. That's that's where my coughs are at. But other than coughs, the only other thing I had this week was a bit of constipation. And let me tell you, I took some laxatives. I took this one laxative in particular called magnesium citrate. That's what it was called. And growing up, I never took laxatives or anything like that. Like I would get backed up as a kid, it was not uncommon for me to be like 8 years old. Like way too, like constipation. I would say is like a middle-aged person's game, but I've been dealing with constipation since I was a kid. And when I would get all backed up, my mom would be like, "Here's some stool softener. Take some stool softener." And if you've never taken stool softener before, doesn't do shit. Stool softener is aspirin. You know how they figured out that like aspirin just like doesn't work for what it's supposed to work for? It works for like thinning your blood or like preventing heart attacks or some shit like that. Some dumb bullshit that no one cares about, but it like doesn't work for headaches at all. That's what stool softeners are. They have to have some sort of other medical property because they don't help you with constipation at all. Like my mom was giving me stool softeners. I was like, "Nah, bitch. Give me that shit that killed Karen Carpenter. That's what the fuck I need." And if you don't know, Karen Carpenter was like a singer who died of like she just took laxatives all the time because she was like anorexic or whatever. And so yeah, she died in like a 1700s way. She like shit her brains out until she died. Which a lot of people do die on the toilet, but that's just because you get like a strong urge to shit when you die or when you're dying. She died from shit. You know what I mean? Like people will say like Elvis died from shit. No, Elvis died from like a sleeping pill, like weird concoction type of thing. He cooked up some weird cocktail of shit. Karen Carpenter died from shitting. She shit so much. I don't know if her body like couldn't absorb nutrients anymore, but that was the type of laxatives I needed growing up, and that's the type of laxatives I took. That shit magnesium citrate, it's a drink if you've never had it. It's like literally in like a bottle. They put it in like a pop bottle almost. Uh, they sell it at Walgreens. That's where I got mine. And it turns out magnesium citrate is also the laxative that they use before you get a colonoscopy. So I don't know if there's like regular laxatives out there that just help get things moving. You know, allegedly that's what stool softeners do, but like I said, I don't buy that shit. Not in the fucking slightest, dude. Stool softeners don't do shit. Um, but I don't know. Maybe there is some laxatives out there that just help get things moving. That is not the purpose of magnesium citrate. The purpose of magnesium citrate is to like drain your gut of everything. Like I think if you had like some problem with E. coli or some shit in your colon, you could take magnesium citrate and beat it in a day. You don't need antibiotics. You don't need any of that shit because it literally clears you out. And I guess the way it works is it like draws water into your gut. That's how it was saying it works. And I mean, that seems correct to me. The stuff that was coming out of me, I wouldn't exactly describe it as watery, but I certainly wouldn't describe it as solid. Right? I would not I would not describe it as solid. What was coming out of me. But I drank it. It tasted like shit. Like it was sour, but not an enjoyable sour. And it's not like super intense. It's a weird type of sour, almost like if you took the taste of like fake sugar and ramped it up by 10,000. That's kind of what it tastes like, but it's not sweet. I don't know. It's weird. It's a taste that I've never tasted before. But I drank it and I was like, I looked at the bottle, and the bottle was like, it'll take like 30 minutes to 6 hours before it starts kicking in. I think mine was more on the 6 hours end. Before it produced a bowel movement. There was a lot of movement before that. There was a lot of movement before that. Just nothing came out for about, I would say, 2 to 3 hours. It felt like my intestines were being like crawled through. You know what I mean? Like some sort of cave diver. You know those cave divers who like wedge themselves into the tiniest cracks of the earth and like scrape their backs trying to go deeper into this abyss? Not even abyss. Like that's the thing about these caves that these cave divers go into. They're not even abysses. They're just like they're barely crevasses. They're bullshit. I don't know why anyone would do that. Like if you're going into a cave and there's like some sick shit down there, that's one thing. But these cave divers are going in, it's just more dirt. It just like it looks like the surface almost. Like it's just more dirt and rocks. I don't know what the whole big deal is. But it felt like one of those suicidal people was just crawling through my intestines, and not like through the actual intestines itself, but you know how it's all folded up, how your gutty works are all folded up down there. It felt like someone was going in between the folds. It was horrible. I was doing fart stretches. I have done fart stretches before. It's actually, they're kind of sexual. The fart stretches are kind of sexual. You get on all fours, you get in almost like a doggy style position, and then you just like push your hips up and down. It's not like a full air hump. It's more of like a, you almost throw that ass in a circle. You're almost on all fours throwing that ass in a circle is how I would describe the fart stretches. I did another one. There's another one. I think it's called like the happy child or some shit, but it's missionary. Like that's that's fully you get on your back and you like put your legs up in the air and you hold them. That one didn't help with the farts at all. I also put like a 15-pound weight on my stomach and like rolled it back and forth just trying to get the farts out. And you'd imagine these farts would be like the worst smelling things on earth. They weren't that bad. And I don't know why it makes you fart because it's like it's just putting water in there. I don't know, maybe water in your gut makes you fart. Um, but yeah, there was a lot of farts in there. And then I was like looking it up because I was like, there's no way this is how it's supposed to work. Turns out that is how it's supposed to work. And someone said, don't trust a fart for the next 24 hours. Look, is that the worst advice in the world? No. Is it exactly how mine went? Also, no. I shit for about an hour, 2 hours. I shit for about 2 hours straight, and then I was good after that. Um, but I was painting. I wasn't even painting the bowl. You know, a lot of people were describing it as like a spray. I wouldn't say it's a spray. And maybe I just have like a loose asshole or something like that. Anyone who's seen my Instagram before, if you scroll down far enough on my Instagram, there's a picture of a shit I took. Let's just there's some girth coming out of my asshole. No girth going in. Hey, no girth going in, but there's some girth coming out. If you know what I mean. I dropped some thick turds. Um, but it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't a spray at all. It was a concentrated stream, to be sure. Um, uh, but not a spray, and it was like freshly mixed concrete. You know what I mean? Like after you mix concrete for a while, it starts to kind of solidify and stuff like that. This was a little bit more freshly mixed. Like you just put the water in, but it's starting to solidify a little bit. That's that's what was coming out of me. But it was smooth like butter. So maybe pudding is a bit. It was like a partially set pudding coming out of my asshole. And once again, not a whole ton of smell. I've never been. Look, I dropped some stinky farts. The shits, though, not that stinky. I don't know. My shits have never been particularly stinky. Farts, certainly. Certainly. But the shits, no. Never too terribly stinky. But yeah, for about an hour and a half, I was. And when they say don't trust a fart, it's because of the texture of the shit. It's like I said, it's a very thin texture, and so it doesn't feel like a turd. Like everyone knows what it feels like to have a turd press against your asshole. It's not the worst feeling in the world. To be 100% honest with you, it's not. You know, when I get that feeling, I'm like, oh, it's time to shit, and I like shitting. It makes me feel light. It makes me feel athletic. All right, if I'm gonna be 100% honest, shitting makes me feel athletic. Afterwards, during I've never felt less athletic. Like during a shit, like pushing out a shit and blacking out, which I have done before. You'll never feel less athletic than that, than like barely being able to do the functions that your body is designed to do. But after a shit, I've never felt more athletic. I feel like I can dunk after a real nice shit. Not exactly the feeling I had after this particular shit, but it was certainly a feeling of relief, is how I'll put it. But yeah, about 2.5 hours. Every time I felt what I thought was a fart, I'd go to the bathroom. Sometimes it was a fart, sometimes it wasn't. Yeah, and that's how it went. And I got cleared out. Now I think I'm constipated again. Look, maybe I just need to eat fiber. Maybe I need to listen to them. Listen to like actual like health advice. But yeah, I think I'm backed up again. But walking does always help. So I don't know exactly what it is, but yeah, this was. I would say clear. Make sure you have a clear schedule if you're ever planning on doing the magnesium citrate. I would say make sure you have. I would say 18 hours. You got to have at least 18 hours if you're drinking the magnesium citrate. At least. because you might be like me, might take a while to kick in, and then once it does kick in, I mean, you could be. I was I was scared. Once it kicked in, I was scared for, I'd say, 12 hours at least. I was scared for about 12 hours there. It was tough going to sleep that night. It was kind of like going to sleep during a tornado warning. Like if you're from like the Kansas, Oklahoma area, you've definitely like slept through a tornado warning before, like the tornado sirens going off, and you're like, "Fuck, I really don't want to go to the basement or go to the tornado area wherever it happens to be in your particular domicile." Um, but it was kind of like that, where it's like, I'm sure I'm gonna be good. I'm sure if I have to shit, I'm gonna it's gonna wake me up, and then I'll go to the bathroom and get that partially set pudding out of my butthole. But it might not. You know what I mean? This tornado, it might be Joplin. The tornado might rip through the town, rip through my house, kill me. I might wake up with brown stained bed sheets, and that's why you sleep on your stomach, to at least mitigate the damage of the brown stained bed sheets, because you just got to accept the underwear is gone. I didn't end up throwing out my underwear. My underwear was pristine afterwards, but I did accept the loss. You know, it's like if you're planning a battle or whatever, or planning a war, you're just gonna have to accept some losses. There's gonna be some losses. You can't prevent it. You should try your best to prevent it, but you have to kind of preemptively accept that loss. That's what you got to do with your underwear if you're drinking, if you're taking some magnesium citrate. Um, but no loss of underwear. No equipment was lost during this battle. No equipment was captured by the enemy. The enemy was contained. I'll say. I'll say it was contained. Um, and yeah, that's how it went. That's how shitting my guts out went, literally. Not the worst feeling in the world. Honestly, the buildup was the worst part of it. Because, like I said, for hours I just had full on, like, prego belly, dude. I don't want to hear a woman complain ever again about being pregnant, dude. There's no way it was worse than that. I was, like, on the ground rolling around like the fucking grape lady, just stretching my bussy out. Stretch it. And you don't need to do any asshole stretches. To prepare for this, I would say do the opposite of an asshole stretch. Do Kegels. Because luckily mine wasn't too liquidy, but I imagine there could be some water. Uh, some more watery type stool movements in if you take magnesium citrate. So I would say do fart stretches and asshole tightenings. That's kind of the setup you're gonna want to do, the preparation you're gonna want to do if you're taking some magnesium citrate. But I don't think it cleared me all the way out. I will say that as physically demanding as the whole ordeal was, I don't think it cleared me all the way out. I think it left a little bit in there, and not because I didn't drink enough water. And that's the other thing. I was like looking it up on Reddit, and people were like, "You need to drink Pedialyte as as you're shitting. You need to be on the toilet drinking Pedialyte." And I will say, I wasn't on the toilet drinking Pedialyte, but I did brush my teeth because I was in the middle of brushing my teeth when it hit me. One of the times it hit me. So, which is, it's tough. It's tough brushing your teeth on the toilet, dude, because you gotta spit and you gotta be like, because you think you have the proper angle to spit. You think you have the proper angle to spit out the toothpaste and get it into the toilet. You're going to have to go lower than that. It's almost like bow fishing. Like anyone who's ever known anyone who's been bow fishing before or has any interest in bow fishing, when you bow fish, you aim at the fish and then you go like super far, like a foot underneath the fish because of the refraction of the water. That's what I would say spitting out toothpaste is like on the toilet. Like I really thought I had the angle right. I hit like the ceramic the ceramic rim of it. You know what I mean? Like at the front part where the seat doesn't fully connect, that's what I ended up hitting. I hit the edge of that. And I thought I had it right down the middle, like perfect in between like cock and balls and the edge of the toilet. I did not. Uh, yeah, but people were talking about it like it was like giving birth or something. Like when you give birth, you have to put like an IV in your arm so that you can get like nutrients and water and electrolytes and stuff, so you don't like die or whatever. That's maybe that's true for some people. Um, I just chugged a bunch of water, probably drank about a liter of water, and then just pissed it all out because maybe if I drank it during the stomach pains, that's what would have gotten it done for me. Maybe that would have helped me get fully cleared out, but yeah, just didn't get fully cleared out by it. Um, and they got a couple different flavors. I got the lemon one, like I said, tasted like shit, and it's medicine. Or it's not really medicine, um, but yeah, I think it's just gonna taste like shit regardless. I was gonna say get the other flavor. They had a cherry flavor too. Um, and it has like this weird texture to it. It's almost like oily or something. Like I don't know. It was like my mouth was greasy afterwards, and it's not like the texture of oil, which is what's really weird. But my mouth was like, it was like I kissed deep fryer oil, or I kissed like the skillet after cooking bacon. That's kind of what my lips felt like, or like I had just put some chapstick on. Maybe maybe that's the most relatable way to put it. Maybe it's not super relatable to describe kissing a cast iron skillet after cooking up some Jimmy Dean's bacon. Maybe chapstick is the best way to put it, but that's what my lips felt like after I drank this lemon lime flavored magnesium citrate drink. Um, but yeah, it was a hell of an experience. Hell of an experience. And I will say you do have a feeling, you have like a feeling in your gut, that not like a feeling in your gut metaphorically, but like literally you have a feeling in your gut, you have a pain in your intestines. That's how I'll put it. You have like a pain in your intestines that a fart is going to relieve, like that you believe a fart would relieve the pain of. It's not. Trust me, the pain isn't going to be relieved even after you shit. The pain will leave when it leaves. You just have to accept the pain and live in the pain. Okay? There's a million motivational speeches out there about accepting the pain and living in the pain. Watch one of those real quick. Watch like some David Goggins like inspirational edits. That's the type of media you should be consuming in this situation. And just I would say for probably 45 minutes to an hour, do not leave the bathroom, cuz you're going to be going back and forth. And anyone who's ever had to really take a shit before and has started running to the toilet, you know that only increases the pain, the the need to release. It only increases that need. But yeah, hell of an experience. Hell of an experience. I was listening to music, you know, it's kind of like how doctors listen to like classical music or whatever when they're doing surgery. That's you need a cadence. You need to listen to music so you have like a cadence down of like pushing and holding and pushing and holding and pushing and holding. If you have like a doula or whatever, if you have a friend who's like a midwife, call her up or him. I don't know if there's any male. There shouldn't be any male midwives out there. Like I know women sometimes complain about like male OBGYNs. Shut the fuck up. Just go to the doctor and get your pussy looked at. But like a male midwife, if I was a woman, that would really piss me off. Like a male doula, is that what it's called? Or is that just the bitch that gets you ready for it? I don't know what it's called. But that if I was a woman, that would piss me off. Just being like, hey, I know the pain is bad, but you're gonna get through it. And it's like, shut the dude, you don't fucking know what it's like to shit out a baby through your pussy. Stop giving me fucking advice. That would be so goddamn annoying. That would be so fucking annoying. It would be like that kid in high school, like anyone who played sports in high school, you know this kid who's like, he's a senior and he's super shitty. Like he gets to play a few JV games. And look, I was that senior, so I'm not shitting on any seniors out there who are playing a few JV games. Although I didn't get to play in the JV games because I played in varsity games sometimes, so they wouldn't let me play in the JV games. Um, it was some bullshit. Fucking bullshit, dude. I should have played. I should have got to play JV football as a senior, as a 17-year-old, almost adult, and just got to bully 15-year-olds. I should have been doing that. But anyway, like a male midwife is almost like that senior who should be playing JV who like tries to give you a hype up speech when you're like losing to the best team that you've ever played, of like kids that are basically in the NFL already. That's what a male midwife seems like to me. It's like, dude, you have no fucking idea what's going on out there. Shut the fuck up. You don't know what it's like. You don't know what it's like to literally shit out a living thing. Although I've had some experiences that I would describe as close to that. Obviously, I've never shit out a literal living thing, but some of the turds I've dropped, it might be alive, dude. It might be a Frankenstein. It's alive. Like, I think, you know how Dr. Frankenstein brought his monster to life by like electrocuting it in the neck? I think if you stuck like a 9 volt on a couple of my turds, those things would have come alive. I've dropped some monsters, some certified Frankensteins in the toilet. All right, I've dropped some of them before. Um, but yeah, that's what magnesium citrate's like, dude. Not, I would say overall probably the most painful shitting experience have had, but the shit itself was not exceptionally painful. And also, if you do have baby wipes, go with that. Especially if they got like some aloe vera or some shea butter in them, go with that because that shit's gonna be chapped. I didn't put any Vaseline or something like that on it. The Matt McCusker method, I didn't adopt that method. Um, but I wouldn't judge you if you did. Usually, if I found out someone was putting Vaseline on their asshole, I'd be like, "You're just gay. You're just prepping your asshole to get fucked," right? That would be my normal reaction. Then magnesium citrate, dude. You're gonna be because you think it's over. You're like, there's no physical way that there could be this this volume, this quantity of mass inside my intestine. My intestine is not physically large enough to hold that amount of anything. It just could not hold it. There's no way it's physically big enough to hold all that. It is. I don't know how it's possible. Beyond me. Never taken an anatomy class before. I'm not a human biology guy. Know about other types of biology. Know nothing about human biology. The human large intestine might be able to hold 50 pounds worth of shit. Like literal shit. It might be able to hold 50 pounds worth of it. Because you think it's done, you think it's over, and you wipe and you get up, and immediately when you get up, it, it's it's ready to come out again, dude. The Hoover Dam is still full. Lake Mead or whatever it's called. Lake Mead's drying up. You're not going to be drying up, okay? Trust me. Trust me. You're gonna have to get that dam ready to open again. You know, you're gonna make some hydroelectricity if you know what I mean. There's gonna be a heavy flow. And speaking of heavy flow, I would almost recommend a tampon. I would almost go so far as to say get some tampons. I don't know how useful maxi pads are. I think they're designed to go exclusively on the front butt, but maybe they'll work for the back butt too. I don't know. I don't know enough about maxi pads to recommend that, but if you don't want to wear a diaper, you know what I mean? Like if you got an important business meeting or something like that, stick a tampon up in there, dude. All right? And you're going to say, "Well, that's gay." But I mean, the act itself might be gay, but at least it can be secretly gay. But if your asshole is like leaking shit out of it while like publicly, like if you're at work or whatever, and I saw just like a slow stream of shit leaking out of someone's asshole, I would assume that person was gay. I would assume that that guy liked to get railed in the butt, and now his butthole is super loose and it's leaking out shit. So, would you rather be privately gay or publicly perceived as gay? Right? Which would you rather be? I'd rather be privately gay. And not Not because I hate gay people or anything like that, although they do some questionable stuff sometimes. I think we can say the gays get up to some monkey business, literal monkey business. You know what I mean? Monkey pox and all that shit. They get up to some monkey business. Um, but yeah, and I guess if you are gay, you don't want to get railed in the butt by a guy, or if you want to get pegged, um, I would definitely recommend the magnesium citrate. I would say that pretty pretty well clears you out. You know what I mean? Hey, there was always a rumor in high school about some some slut who didn't get enough attention at home, so she decided to do anal, and she shit on a guy's dick. We all heard those rumors in high school, or at least we did at my high school. Multiple, I think. Maybe I just went to a high school. Maybe I just went to a high school with a lot of girls who didn't get enough attention at home, but there was multiple rumors like that. You don't want to be that girl. You don't want to be that guy who shit on a dick or who shit on a strap on. You don't want to be that guy, right? So what I would recommend, magnesium citrate. I would say that if you know in advance, magnesium citrate. If you don't know in advance, I would say just generally don't do it. I would say anal something you got to prepare for. You know what I mean? It's like the ACT. Or not the ACT. I didn't prepare for the ACT. I don't know a lot of people who did. But it's something you got to prepare for. You can't just jump into it, right? You might think you can just jump into it. And look, I'm not speaking for personal experience or anything like that. Obviously, I'm a fucking chud incel virgin, but I would assume it's something you've got to prepare for because you've always got some shit up in there. You've always, if you dig deep enough in your butt, there's some shit going on up in there. And I imagine when the dick goes in, it confuses your butthole a lot. I'm sure your butthole's in like a crab swirl. It's in a fucking blender being like, what the fuck is going on up here? So I imagine it gets things moving up in there. So yeah, you got to prepare for it. It's just one of those things you have to prepare for. Yeah, it's like going into like a war zone or some shit like that. Like even if it's just mental prep, I would say physically prepare for it as well. But it's also something you got to mentally prepare for because things aren't supposed to be going up in there. That's just a fact of anatomy. Things are not supposed to be going in. Coming out, yes, absolutely. I imagine your asshole's almost shaped like, or I know your asshole's shaped like a funnel. You know what I mean? And your actual asshole, the purple eye, the eye of Sauron, the thing that's actually out there, that's the bottom of the funnel. And then you got the top part of the funnel, the wide part of the funnel, that's your gut. And so things are designed to go in, or things are designed to come out, not to go in. You know what I mean? You ever tried to pour something into an upside down funnel? Doesn't work out very well. I can't imagine why you could do that. But go try it. Hey, if you're listening to this, go try it. See how that works out for you. So I'm not saying people are gonna put things up their butt. It's just a reality of life. I don't even know if it's related to like homosexuality versus heterosexuality, although I personally do think there is a link. I think if you're putting things up your butt, you might be a little bit gay. You're not like obviously fully gay, but you're a little bit gay. You're a touch of gay if you're putting things up your butt at all, which I have. I know I said I haven't put anything up my butt. I have. I did put hemorrhoid suppositories up my butt on more than one occasion. Really, the hard part is the beginning. The hard part of getting something up your butt is that first little is breaking through. You know what I mean? It's a glass ceiling. You're like, oh, it's a hole. I can just put something in a hole. That's not hard. It's an invisible barrier. But then once it's up in there, it does feel weird. You are like having something at the precipice of your asshole. Physically your body feels that and you're like, oh, I need to go shit. But then you remember, no, it's the hemorrhoid suppository I stuck up my butthole because it hurt to sit down. Right? That's you have to remind yourself. So actually, I do know it puts your mind. You got to mentally prepare for it. I imagine, right? I imagine it would be the same feeling if you got a dick up your butt. Like physically, it would be like, oh, there's something at the precipice of my asshole. That means I need to shit, right? And so then you start pushing, and that's how the shit gets on the tip of the dick. Hey, the anal just seems like a lot of work, dude. It just seems like like forget about the pain during and afterwards, which I'm sure is immense. Like the preparation just seems like way too much for me. From like, not that I would ever do it, but if I did, I don't know if I would prepare because that would be the thing. Like if I was to ever have a penis shoved up my butt, it would obviously be like in an unwilling circumstance. So obviously I wouldn't prepare for that. I might prepare for it now that I'm thinking about it. Like if I like knew a guy was gonna break into my house in the middle of the night and rape my butt, I wouldn't prepare for that. You know what I mean? Because it's like, oh, he's just gonna break in and rape my butt and then leave. But if I was in like prison or something like that, and I knew my butt was gonna get raped, I'd probably prepare for it. Because if you don't prepare for that, you're gonna get killed for sure. Like if you shit on a guy's dick in prison, it's like being a pedophile, being a snitch, and then shitting on a guy's dick while you're getting raped in the butt. Like those are the three ways you 100% get killed in prison. If I was raping a guy in the butt and he shit on my dick, I would probably kill him. Probably. I don't. I don't know. That's a hard, you know, frame of mind for me to put myself into. But I'd imagine I there would have to be some sort of retaliation for that because it might be accidental, but you're not thinking that. You're thinking, oh, this guy just shit on my dick because I raped him in the butt. Now my dick is gonna get infected because I'm gonna get pink eye. I'm gonna get pink hole, pink dick hole. That's what's gonna happen to me because this guy just shit on my dick. Um, so I don't. What were we talking about? Laxatives? We were talking about sodium or magnesium citrate. That's what we were talking about. This has been a week of chemical reactions for me. I learned about chemical reactions in some of the classes I'm in. Um, our main episode is going to be about not chemical reactions, but reactions of some kind, physical phenomena, and then obviously my intestines, the chemical reaction that went on in there when it got filled with water, and then I shit my brains out for about 2 hours straight. I mean, yeah, the beginning is great, but you're gonna need to take a nap afterwards. I'll say, like physically, it's draining, and not in like the worst way. It's like mentally draining too. It's mentally and physically draining because you're on edge. You're on edge the entire time. That entire 2 hours, you're on edge, being like, is it gonna happen? Is it not gonna happen? Is it gonna happen? You know what I mean? You're going back and forth. You're looking out for danger. It's like being a deer during hunting season. You're like, oh, you hear like a twig snap or whatever, and you go, "Ooh." And I imagine like a deer, like the worst, because deer are like super skittish and like sensitive like that, and then they'll just randomly get hit by a fucking semi truck on like a clear open road. That's what I imagine it's like with laxatives. Like you're, you're super skittish, but at the same time, that semi truck can come out of nowhere and kill you. And the equivalent of that with laxatives would be like shitting your pants in public. I didn't, like I said, I beat that case. Didn't shit my pants in public. But I imagine it could happen. So be wary. Trust the words of your forefathers, and don't trust a fart for the next 24 hours. Like some black dude said in the comments of a TikTok video, don't trust a fart for the next 24 hours. Um, yeah, that's what else did I do this week? I listened to On the Jews and Their Lies, or I started listening to it. I got the gist. They're lying. That's and if you don't know, that's a what's it called? A treatise, something like that. I don't know. It's like a little thing, like a little short story that Martin Luther wrote. The real Martin Luther, the guy who founded Protestantism, not Martin Luther King Jr., who won the Margaret Sanger Award. And if you don't know who Margaret Sanger is, she was a eugenicist who wanted to kill black people and founded Planned Parenthood for that exact reason. But not the point, not the point. She might have been like a Jewish supremacist who wanted to kill all the Goyim through abortion, but not the point, not the point. I listened to the actual Martin Luther, guy who founded Protestantism, uh, which Protestantism, if you don't know, that's like everything besides Catholic and Orthodox and Coptic and stuff like that. So like Lutheran, Methodist, non-denominational, that's Protestant. All that's Protestant, which is funny. It's funny that this guy, and he always hated the Jews. At first, though, he was kind of like, but I can convert them to Christianity, and then they won't be Jews anymore. This book is, or this treatise, essay. We'll just call it an essay. It's 65,000 words. He started writing this after he tried to convert the Jews to Christianity. And he was just like, Jesus fucking Christ, these people are the worst. He talks a lot about circumcision in there, which I don't know if the Jews are, if they brag about that now, but apparently back in the day, when the Jews were living in like the ghettos of Europe, they were bragging about circumcision a whole lot, being like, my dick is cut, yours isn't, ha ha ha. So yeah, that's just like another, I guess, example of America being under Jewish control, is the fact that like every dude here is circumcised. Another instance of the Jews controlling us. But yeah, Martin Luther would have loved like Instagram Reels. I'll say that he would have been a big fan of the IG Reels. Like everything he said in there, I've heard in the IG Reels. He talked about the Talmud. He talks about Goyim. He drops Goyim a few times in there, which I didn't know. I didn't know they were hip to that back then. That the Jews call us Goyim and don't believe we have souls and stuff like that. But he talks a lot about that. One of the things he does talk about in it that I was kind of like, damn. One of the big things that he talks about is the fact that the Jews don't live on their own land. Like Israel, they don't have Israel. And he was like, well, if you guys were really the chosen people of God, he would have given you that land, right? Because that was like his whole thing. That was his whole promise to you. And he was basically like flexing on him for that. He was like, don't ever try to like talk or reason or discuss with a Jew. He was like, just be like, you don't have your holy land, haha, fuck you, bitch. That's basically what he says to say to Jews. They do have the holy land, don't have the temple though. That's the big thing that Martin Luther still was right about. Don't have the temple. So yeah, I guess I would say take his advice there and just generally take it. Don't like try to debate people, especially Jews. Just be like, yeah, dude, right? Like if someone calls you racist, if someone calls you like a privileged white male or whatever, just be like, yeah, I am privileged and a white male. Sorry, we're better than everyone else, right? That's basically what Martin Luther's saying to do, but with Jews. Just be like, God let your temple be destroyed by the Romans. Suck my dick, bitch. And he also talks about how these Jews aren't like the real Jews, because if they were the real Jews, they would believe in Jesus. That's a big thing that he talks about. And he talks about how, and this is one of the things I didn't know about from Instagram Reels, but one of the big things he talks about is the fact that the Jews view like the money of the Goyim almost as their Messiah. Because apparently when the dudes in the Old Testament were like prophesizing about the Messiah, they were like, he'll come in a little bit, right? And then obviously, if you follow that line logically, which I'm not a Christian, but if you follow that line logically, you end up at Christianity, right? Jesus comes, fulfills all the prophecies, makes the new covenant, all that bullshit. And so he's like, and the Jews know that. The Jews know that Jesus came and fulfilled all the prophecies of the Old Testament and like made the new covenant or whatever. And so he's like, they replace Jesus with money, basically, is what he's saying. Because apparently the word for Jesus or the word for Messiah is super close to the word for like happiness or something like that. And so in the Talmud, which is like the teachings of rabbis that Jews follow nowadays, in the Talmud, they're basically like, well, this word that's kind of like Messiah is also close to happiness, and money is happiness. And so money is kind of like the Jews' new Jesus, or it's like their version of Jesus. This is an English translated version, but it's still kind of like that old talk where they put like words before other words that should be after words. You know what I mean? Um, and so it's kind of hard to understand, but that's one of the other things that he talks about that I didn't know from IG Reels is that money is literally their god. He also talks about just don't trust them at all. They're always going to like create a state within a state. That's one of the big things that he talks about, and how if they were really the Jews, they would be like on their knees thanking the people of the state that they live in and like praying to the people or like praying for the people of the state that they live in, but they don't do that because they're not the real Jews. And he brings up a lot of biblical evidence into it, which I know a little bit about because I went to Catholic school, but don't know a ton about. So that's what else I did this week. Also watched The Passion of the Christ. Didn't know it wasn't in English. Didn't know that. The guy who plays Jesus should have been way more shredded. I'll say it, dude. That the guy who played Jesus definitely wasn't fat, but he had a bit of chub on him, and that's no. Jesus should be 2% body fat. You know, like how people on like I'm into fitness and stuff like that, so I watch a lot of fitness TikToks and Instagram Reels and stuff like that. And there's constantly like, especially dudes on podcasts. Dudes on podcasts love being like, yeah, I used to be 2% body fat, which is like you die if you're 2% body fat, right? You can't live. Your body needs a certain amount of, like your brain especially needs fat to function. Uh, that's what Jesus should be though. Jesus should be like the type of lean that dudes on podcasts lie about being. That's how lean, especially on the cross, dude. And Gibson tortured the. It's directed by Mel Gibson, who also said some fun things about the Jews, but which I'm not saying I agree with Martin Luther with everything he said. Also, not the most inaccurate description of those people that I've ever heard. Obviously not all of them, but a decent percent. Anyway, anyway, yeah, Mel Gibson tortures the fuck out of Jesus in that movie. And I get like the point of it wasn't to be like this is what actually happened to Jesus. It was supposed to be like look at how fucking destroyed he was from like the whippings and the beatings and all that stuff. Like Jesus's body is like Freddy Krueger or some shit. Like Freddy Krueger's face, but his entire body. And with blood coming out. Not like the healed burn marks that Freddy Krueger has. Like the open wounds. Like Jesus is just... They basically skin Jesus alive in this fucking movie. Which is, once again, not... I know Mel Gibson knows that's not what actually happened, but... goddamn, it's pretty... It's pretty fucked up. To just, like, look at it. You know what I mean? Because you can, like, feel it almost. You can, like... it sucks. And it's not a horrible movie. It's not a great movie either. Like, I get being Christian and being like, this movie rules or whatever, because it's, like, the only movie about fucking Jesus ever. I'm trying to think of the only other one I can think about is The Last Temptation of Christ, which... I think that's a Scorsese movie, and it's all about Jesus having sex or imagining having sex and stuff like that with like Mary Magdalene or whatever. So I imagine if you're a Christian, you're probably not a big fan of that one. But I will say Mel Gibson chose a good woman to play Mary Magdalene. Just a good woman to play her. She is the sexy lady, good looking woman. I'll say good looking woman. But yeah, that's what I did this week. Shit my brains out. Watched a movie about Jesus. Listened to a short little thing about the Jews. Yeah, I guess we'll get into the news. Speaking of Jews, let's talk about the fucking news, dude. They control the news. They're all over the news. Uh, yeah, let's read about this. So our first article here is from NBC, and this is House Oversight Committee seeks testimony from prison guard on duty when Jeffrey Epstein died. Uh, Tova Noel was working the night when authorities said the notorious sex offender killed himself in his jail cell and said she believed she was the last person to see him alive. So this is Tova Noel. She's a black woman. Explains the whole thing. Anyone who's ever been inside of a place of business where a black woman is behind a desk, not the most attentive. Can we say that? Not the when a black woman is sitting behind a desk, especially a large one, a large black woman with like a bob haircut behind a desk. I don't even know if it's like a bob. I don't know women's hairstyles, but you guys know what I mean. Like a black woman wearing a larger, like a really fat black woman behind a desk is actually a good sign because that bitch is in charge. You know what I mean? She's running that office or whatever it is, like it's the Navy. But like a mid-sized black woman behind a desk with like a wig on, not the most attentive group of people. They're not terribly interested in their jobs. I'll say, just generally, really big black woman behind a desk with like super short hair. Yeah, whatever needs to be done is going to be getting done. Mid-sized black woman behind a desk with longer hair. Fucking get out Lord of the Rings. You know what I mean? Start reading Infinite Jest. You know, it's fucking hit the Bible. That's what you're gonna need to be doing. If you see a mid-sized black woman with a long wig on behind a desk, you're gonna be there for a minute. Listen to "On the Jews and Their Lies" by Martin Luther King or by Martin Luther. Um, so yeah, I don't know if we need to read the rest of this article. We obviously know what happened. She was filing her nails, and some guy came in and killed Jeffrey Epstein, or he killed himself, um, or he escaped to Tel Aviv. That's also a very real possibility. Never seen the dead body, and you can make a pretty, you know, the Jews control Hollywood. We all know that. Let's call a spade a spade. There's some good movies out there, but we know who's making them. Okay, can we say that? Just statistically, they control Hollywood, right? It's like saying Jamaicans control the beef patty business, which, if you don't know, a beef patty is like it's a traditional Jamaican snack. It's like a hand pie, but it's filled with meat. You know, Jamaicans control the meat patty industry. I think I can fucking. I don't think it's racist or anti-Semitic to say that. The Jews control Hollywood. It's just a statistical fucking fact. You can't look. Met one Jew in my entire life. Every movie you watch is filled with them. You know what I mean? In the credits, in the actual movie itself, they're everywhere in the movies. So, and I don't know if you've seen movies lately, pretty realistic props in these movies. So, let's put two and two together here. If there is any pictures of the dead body, it could very well be fake. And that's not, I don't think that's that crazy to say. Like, everyone treats it like it's some like super funny, insane conspiracy theory. We don't know if the motherfucker. We have zero clue what's going on with this situation. Like people pretending that they know what's going on with, like immediately dismissing the idea that Jeffrey Epstein is dead is, or isn't dead is crazy. He very well could be alive. We have no fucking clue. And we never will have any clue. If you think people like watching this shit closely, no, stop. There's and it's also like, what are you gonna do? We figured out that they were and look, I'm not doing anything either. That's the other thing. I'm talking tough. I'm not gonna fucking do anything either, you know. But we found out that they were eating babies, and we haven't done anything. So it's like, we're not gonna do anything, dude. Let's be honest here. No one's gonna do anything. They won. The Jews won. We're not doing anything. We're not throwing tea into the harbor or whatever. We're not holding anyone even close to accountable. The word accountable is, just get that out of your lexicon. The people who did this should be held accountable. Yeah, and houses shouldn't cost $3 million for 2 bedrooms. But they do, dude. Alright? So unless you're ready to strap up and sacrifice yourself for the cause, shut up. Anyway, Tova Noel, she was filing her nails. They came in, took Jeffrey Epstein out. He's chilling in a villa in Tel Aviv. That's what happened. Alright? Case solved. It's done. It's over with. They were eating babies, and they got away with it. I wish we would do something about it. I wish someone braver than me, more courageous than me, more militarily apt than me, would do something about it, but no. We just have dudes getting convinced to shoot up schools on Discord servers. It's the closest we have to revolution. And yeah, there was a shooting at a synagogue. I don't give a shit. I'm sorry, I don't care. I don't care when there's a shooting at a school. I don't care when there's a shooting at a synagogue. No one even died at the synagogue. Yeah. And we got one more article, but I'm not going to read it. 56 minutes, good enough. I don't need to go for a full hour. Suck my dick. I hope everyone listening to this has a good day, a good week, a good year, a good life. Look, if someone does want to do something about Epstein and all that stuff, great. But no one has, and my guess is that no one will. And we'll just slowly become the Goyim slaves that the Jews want us to be. It's my guess as to what's going to happen anyways. But yeah, I hope you have a good day, a good week, a good year, a good life. You can listen to On the Jews in Their Lies on Spotify. It's on Spotify. But yeah, have a good day, a good week, a good year, a good life, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.